want to die with a dick on my face.
Hey guys, Jim here, welcome, and once again today we're going to be taking a look at the Microtech Anax by Reich Knives. Now, for those of you that don't know, this logo, this box, signifies the fact that this is not an American-made Microtech. Microtech is an American brand. They do make American knives. They make all their own knives, except for these new limited collaborations they're doing with Reich Knife out of China. And what they're doing is they're offering previously released items that were only made as Marfione customs, making a production version of them, amping up the quality and the materials, and then offering them really honestly at a fair price. And we'll talk about the pricing in a little bit. Now, what we're going to be taking a look at here are two knives. These are both going to be Anaxes. This one is what they call the plain edge, or single edge, excuse me, and the other version will be the Tanto. That's what's sitting inside of this box. The one they call single edge really is a drop point. And these are the versions in black DLC. Now, when I first saw this, I went, wow, man, the black really looks good. The bead blasted titanium with the carbon fiber inlays looked good, but there's something, I don't know, a little more tactical about the all black look. And really, Microtech really is all about that tactical design aesthetic. So it fits in well with the brand. If you go back to 2014, I uploaded a video on the original Marfione Custom Anax that I had bought at Blade Show, one of the prototypes that they brought with them. It was the very first time they had brought these out. It was the introduction of Marfione's new packaging. There was a whole bunch of cool stuff going on, and it was one of the rare times you got a chance to get a manual folder from Marfione. And they were in the range of, they were about $750 back then in 2014. So I would expect today that you would be probably closer to $900 and more if you added in the fact that you've got the carbon fiber inlays and all black DLC. So you'd be probably well over $1,200 in this configuration. So you can't sit there and say $550 is too expensive. You can't say that rationally because you have a choice. You can either buy this version made in China as a production Microtech for $550, or spend far in excess of $1,000 to buy the only other way an Anax is available as a full custom from Marfione. That's it. So if you want a Microtech, you want a production version, you want to have a fairly decent availability where you can buy it when you want to buy it and at a price you want to buy it at, this is going to be the way to do it. So that's just for all the people that do not stop in the comment sections under any of the Reich Knife made Microtechs about how overpriced they are and how they're made in China and all these horrible things. It's right there, man. They're not disguising anything. You can't miss the fact that it's made in China. So if it bothers you, tune away now. That's all I can tell you. For the rest of us that actually appreciate the knife because of how the knife is made, these are really nicely made. $550 does start getting a bit damn steep for a production knife, and we'll go over that as well as we get into the review. So let's go ahead and get into the packaging very, very quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on this. One end will be marked with the knife that is inside. And I'm going to be very, very careful because my buddy who sent these over to me, these are both his knives, they're not mine. The Tanto inside is a brand new knife that I do believe he plans on reselling. So I'm not going to be opening up like the paperwork and stuff that's in here. That's really kind of boring stuff anyway. You don't really care about that. So inside you will obviously get the knife. And that is the Tanto variation. I'll put that to the side. There are going to be two different tools. One, which will fit the pivot. Thank God, because it is proprietary hardware. I'm glad they started doing this. And one for the body screws. So you are able to disassemble the knife or make adjustments should you need to. Also inside are going to be these two lanyards, which I do believe in the original customs when they first came out, I believe he called this a stinger. It was twice the length. It was much sharper than this one is. It could easily pierce the skin. And now you have this other one, which is a ball, which, I mean, if you're gonna use one of these, probably use the ball. I did discuss this with the owner, and he said it was okay on his carry knife to go ahead and screw one of these in. I didn't want to screw it into the brand new knife in case it leaves any scratches. So, I mean, it acts as a lanyard, but it's stiff. It doesn't dangle. It doesn't hang. So you're always going to have that size relative to the overall length of the knife, and that's when it starts getting really, really big. So I don't know that that's something that any human on Earth is ever going to use. And to make it even sillier when you get into the sharp one, oh my God. I mean, honestly, if you're not in peak physical condition, you got a little muffin top going on, this thing is going to literally stab you in the side every time it's sitting down in the pocket. That thing is going to just be sticking all up in you. And yeah, I mean, sure, it looks pretty cool because I think the Anax, the reason for the name was it was a genus of dragonflies. And they thought that looked kind of cool to kind of, I don't know, simulate the dragonfly ass or something. But anyway, it looks cool, but it is utterly and completely useless, and you will not be using it. All right, let's get the packaging out of the way. What I'd like to do right now, because there are very impatient people on the internet, I'm sure you've run into one or two of them. I'm going to get into this section that I like to call TLDR. No, that's where it came from. TLDW, too long, didn't watch. Here's what my thoughts are on this knife, pros and cons, and I'll go through these as quickly as I possibly can. We'll start off, obviously, with the pros. Pros, I mean, the design. It looks really, really cool. It's a slick look. It's a very sleek, streamlined design. It's very attractive. The next positive would be the tacticalness, and that really is something that Microtech is well known for. This does look like something you would see the hero of an action movie breaking out at some point. So there is that. The next thing I love, the hardware. The hardware is cool. You're paying a lot of money, especially when you're buying the custom, but you're paying a lot of money for this knife. And to not see generic, plain hardware, it's not a huge deal. I mean, plenty of us have spent thousands upon thousands of dollars on a single knife and just had regular old Torx screws in it. However, when you can get something that has been completely custom designed for this brand and for these knives, it's a really cool thing. It honestly is. The next thing I like, that giant milled fuller in the blade allows you, I used to always either manually open my custom or flip it with my thumb, which this one, it's a little tougher to do for some reason. I really can't do it. But now everybody seems to like that reverse flick, and I do too now. And that is very, very good for reverse flicking. It is a reverse flicking monster. You also have the front flipper tab there, which I'm still just really not all that good at. But you can front flip it if you want to. I'm not going to bother trying to tear up my fingers. Look at that crap by doing that. But yes, it will front flip. That is very aggressive jimping, by the way. Another thing that I like, the Begg Ball. Designed and originally made by Todd Begg in his custom knives. Tony did get permission from Todd to be able to borrow that design. And what that does is it allows you to have a lot of tension on the clip where it will stay in the pocket and not come out for anything on its own. But the problem that generally presents in a standard style of pocket clip is when it's too tight, it's hard to get over the lip of your jeans, particularly getting them out or pushing it back in. With the Begg Ball, you have a rounded, minimal contact patch, but it's rounded and it's slick and smooth because this is ceramic. They can either be hardened steel or ceramic. And it makes it getting into the pocket very easy and out of the pocket very easy while still having a lot of tension and holding in the pocket very, very well. So love having the Begg Ball, and it's a custom sculpted, custom designed clip. It was really, really nicely done. Another thing that I like is it's got all the goodies, man. You've got the over travel protection for the lock bar. You've got the steel lock face insert. You've got everything in there. You've got bearings at the pivot, but there's special bearings. We'll talk about those in the specs portion. Another thing that I love is the swells in this frame. It is not a slab-sided titanium frame. You've got some swells here, so it dips down, concaves here, and raises up in the middle. And that gives you, number one, a little bit of a fuller feeling in the hand than if it were just this thickness and a slab-sided titanium frame lock. But also, it kind of sits perfectly right where your fingers want to drop, making it very, very comfortable. And that takes me to the next thing I love, the ergos. The ergonomics on this knife really are fantastic. They did a great job all the way around on this. And another positive for this particular knife, for these particular knives, is the fact that Reich did a very, very faithful reproduction. They did a fantastic job interpreting that custom and still making it a somewhat affordable knife. The biggest difference is they made this a frame lock instead of a sub frame lock that the original customs were, because they could be. Because it was sky's the limit on the price, didn't matter. So Tony developed some really cool things. And another thing that people tend to forget is the Anax is an integral. This is one solid piece of titanium that has been milled out, and all this work has been done. It is not two different pieces of titanium screwed together in some fashion. This is one monoblock of titanium. And it's very easy to forget that, especially when you're looking at the price. You're like, oh, it's $550. I can get a lot of frame locks out there for a couple $100 less that are very comparable. Yeah, but they're not integrals, which requires extraordinarily expensive machining machines to actually do, and a lot of experience to do it with. So there are the pros. Now, for the cons. The price, yeah, I'm sitting there justifying the price because it is a titanium integral. It is DLC coated. It does have the inlays. It is a sculpted and swelled frame. There's all this stuff going on, but for a lot of people, the price is going to be hard to swallow because they can go out and buy something like the RR Standard. I'm just using this as an example because it is an all black titanium frame lock with a fantastic action and really, really good steel, being in Magna Cut. This was under $300, I think it was. So big difference. But again, this is just a regular titanium frame lock, baby. It's not an integral. By the way, this is much blacker than this is. You'll notice that. We'll talk about that as well. So it's good for a lot of people. The con is going to be the price. It's not a huge con for me because I think it's easy for me to justify that expense because of what you're getting. Another con for me is the overly aggressive jimping. It is absolutely unnecessary on this knife. I'm not even going to try to front flip the Tanto, because it's a brand new knife. It has not been broken in yet, so it's even stiffer and even harder, and it will tear up your thumb. I'm just not a fan of it. When you look at the jimping, it's in a great place, and it's certainly very, very useful. But on your bare hands, it's a bit much. This is fine for a gloved hand, I suppose. The finer jimping, let's see if we can get it to focus and zoom in on it here. The finer jimping here, I like. They did a really nice job with it. Not quite in focus, is it? My apologies. Let's see if we can do it this way. Come on. Come on. Okay, whatever. Anyway, that finer jimping I like. By the way, that is an exposed blade stop, and that is the screw to take the blade stop out if for some reason you ever, I don't know why you would ever need to, but you can remove it. And that used to be done in a blue anodized titanium on the customs. Still love the golf ball dimples on here, by the way. But we're on the negatives here, not the things that I love. Other cons, let's see. Yeah, the stupid ass lanyards. It would be really nice if they just made that lanyard with the screw-in, capability there, with an actual lanyard, instead of a piece of wire. Cable, a steel cable actually is what it is. It still doesn't make sense. Tony has heard people complain about it ever since the very first one. Not really complain, they just kind of went, it's dumb, I'm going to leave it in the packaging, I'm never going to carry it. That was it. It was like people are going, this is a horrible thing because it wasn't a part of the knife. So you just simply didn't put it on the knife and it didn't bother you. But you would think after years of hearing that and how stupid people thought it was, he wouldn't have even put it on this knife. That's money that could have been saved by just not doing it because nobody's ever going to use it. But if you had to do it and you're going to make an extra one, you've got two in there now instead of one, why not make the other one a little floppy, an actual lanyard that if somebody that loves lanyards bought this knife, they could screw that in and have an actual functioning lanyard. It doesn't make sense to me at all. And the other con, it's not a con for me, but it will be a con for some people, is that they're made in China. I get it. You want to buy as many American-made products as you can. Look around your house. 85% of everything you own, from the t-shirt you're wearing to the shoes you're wearing to your phone to the appliances in your home to your air conditioner outside, almost everything that you own is made in China. We really can't avoid it. But I get the fact that you're buying a luxury item, not a necessity. So you think to yourself, well, I have the choice now, and I'm just going to buy stuff from where I want it to be from. Totally get that, man. That's great. But that doesn't mean you got to ramble on and on and on and on and on and rail against everybody that likes these knives. It's a really nice knife. It's at a price that people can afford as compared to the only other way you could buy one, which is a full custom for double or more of this current price. So let people be happy. Just do that. But again, for those that have an issue with that, that could definitely be a con for some people. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'm going to move these right over here. Pop that bad boy open so you can just kind of stare at the Tanto goodness of it. And let's get into the specs. First off, it is a titanium frame lock. It is not the sub frame lock that was introduced on the original custom knife. You do get contoured and swelled frames with inlays, beautiful carbon fiber inlays, and it's very well done. I think they did an excellent job all the way around. Overall length is 8.58 inches, blade length of 3.69 inches in M390 steel. The edge is 3.5 inches because of the very large choil that rests at the heel of the edge. Let's see, the thickness of the blade is 157 thousandths of an inch thick. So still substantial, but not thick, not overly done, not a burden in the pocket, not crazy heavy. It's a really nice, it's a good thickness for what it is. And honestly, if they weren't doing this heavily machined fuller on each side of the blade, didn't have that feature at all, it would probably be an even slimmer blade, probably around 145 thou, and it would have been just amazing. But this is a really cool detail. In order to do that, the blade stock had to be a little bit thicker, yada, yada, yada. They claim that the 32 balls around the pivot, all the bearings, are silicone nitride. Apparently that's supposed to be slicker, faster, smoother. I don't know what the degradation is over a lifetime. I mean, ceramic bearings aren't really ever going to wear out against steel and titanium. They will wear the steel and it will wear the titanium, but the bearings themselves generally don't degrade over time. I don't know what the degradation is on silicone nitride. It is, I'm assuming, just a coating that's on ceramic or steel bearings. Microtech has not really been very detailed from what I can find about that information. So it's got a really slick coating that should add to the life and hopefully reduce the wear on the other parts that it's touching. Proprietary hardware with included tools. Big deal to get those included tools. The Begg Ball pocket clip, and the weight is 5 ounces. So a little bit on the hefty side, but you got to realize you are getting a large-sized knife. This is on the larger end of what people consider to be an EDC by having basically a 3.7-inch blade. It's not tiny, but it's not, it's not oversized at all. I always thought when I had my Anax that it was one of the nicest, simple knives that I had from Marfion. It was, at that time, it was just, plain titanium, stonewashed. I'm sorry, not stonewashed, bead blasted. No inlays or anything like that. But, I mean, what I mean by simple is it didn't have a lot of extraneous things and design work done to it. It wasn't an automatic. It was a manual opener. It was just very simple in its overall design, even though, yes, difficult to make being an integral. It was really a wonderful piece. Later on, he went and did a bearing pivot for them, and the action got significantly better on them. And then it's been a couple of years since I've seen him release any. Maybe I just missed him. So I don't know how long it's been since he's made the custom Anaxes. But this is the first time we're able to get our hands on the production. The originals came out in basically silver tone, so in the bead blasted stonewash frame. This is the DLC version. Do I like the DLC more? On its face, yes. I like the option. But I want you to take a really good look. This is a brand new one. This is one that has been carried and used. And while it's not showing, actual wear marks, what their coating does is this kind of goofy shit. And I don't care what you use to clean these knives, this finish, you will always get streakiness. First off, you will lose that rich, almost black chrome look they have the very first time you touch it. I promise you, the very first time you clean it, whether you use Windex or you use alcohol or you use EDCI or you use KPL, that white cleaner, I don't care what you use. Even just getting it wet and wiping it down, it changes the color. Notice the bronze that's coming through. It's almost yellow. And you do see that in the new one, but you see where it's really black, and then it kind of gets to a little bit of purple, almost like an oil slick. This is very reminiscent of what Microtech and Marfion do on their DLC. I don't know what their process is, but I don't like it. I really, really don't like it. Here's why. I can pick up this DLC knife, and it's black. It is black, black, black. I can touch it. I can spit on it. I can rub my oily fingers all over it. I can clean it with anything that would be, normally safe for any other finishes. And it remains a true pitch black, a true midnight black. This does not do that. Number one, you see it's more of a gray. It's black on its own, but you put it next to anything that's actually black, and you're like, that's not black, that's gray. then you get this bronze undertone. And some people may like that. Cool. If that's what I was buying it for, I would want that. But it's not. I'm buying it because I wanted a black DLC knife. I wanted this. And what I got was this. That's disappointing. I bought a signature edition Hawk automatic out the front 2 years ago. And I was so pumped for it because it was all black. It was, they were hand ground being the signature edition. It had the carbon fiber inlays, which weren't really all that available at all in the customs. And I was super excited. And that was like $700, if I recall. 600, 700? I don't remember. You can go back and watch the video I did. And immediately I went to clean it, and it looked like I destroyed and stripped off the finish. I was so angry for the amount of money that was spent for a knife that I bought, because I could have bought any Hawk that I wanted to. I wanted the black. I wanted that rich midnight black look of the DLC. That lasted an hour till the very first time I went to wipe it down. Maybe not even that long. And it looked like shit forever after that. And it really pissed me off because that was a lot of the reason I chose that version. I wanted that black. And what I got was a streaky, nasty mess. And it angered me. That's exactly the way that I feel about this. Man, it's beautiful. It is. It's a good-looking knife. But how long is it going to look good? Now, again, he has carried this one. And this is the new one. And there's already a difference. It just, I don't know, it bothers me. It really does. But if that's not a big concern for you, then you're probably going to love it, because in the hand, they feel incredible. As you see once they're broken in. This one's not broken in, so I released the lock and it barely moves. There's a lot of tension. And all you would really need to do is you put a drop of KPL on the, on the detent ball. Don't get any on the lock or lock face. Do not, or you're going to get lock stick. But you just swab a little bit of it on there and then run the action a few dozen times and it'll get nice and smooth. This is what happens when it's broken in. It's a really nice action. Now, it's not crazy. It's nothing to write home about, as I showed you with the standard, the RR standard. That's nice and smooth. If you want reverse flickers that have incredible actions, you want to spend a lot less money, well, there are options right here in front of you that, honestly, I would rather have this. That's just the honest-to-God truth. It's smoother. It's faster. My old Devo knife stout, which, by the way, I did just upgrade to the sunset orange carbon fiber scales. But look at this. Whoop. Significantly different. And these were $260, I believe, when they came out. They're going to be around $300 next time. The TW price, Dawn. Yeah. Much more refined. Even though the blade is significantly slimmer and lighter weight, the action feels significantly better. And this is a lot less money. Now, to me, this is a nicer knife, but it's more of an EDC style, whereas this is your badass, I'm a commando and I wear fucking Tad Gear clothing all day long and 511 pants and shit like that. There's something to be said for that. And it is cool. I love tactical stuff. I'm not knocking it at all. I'm just making a little bit of fun out of it. But, I mean, this is a significantly nicer knife and for way less money. So for me, as much as I dig the aesthetic appeal of it, it's not for me. And I know the aesthetic appeal will very quickly wear off as the finish, I almost want to say tarnishes. It's not tarnishing, but it appears like it's tarnishing and it looks terrible. And they don't age well. Now, in the all bead blasted version without any coating, that's still something I might consider. And they're less. They're like $425, $450. By the way, and I just have to address this when I did my little short on this, or I'm saying the unboxing, somebody would absolutely ape shit on me, and instead of just saying, hey, I think you might have made a mistake on the price, go double check real quick, he had to call me a liar. Oh, it must be great to lie, or to be a liar, or something to that effect. Anyway, all I had done was, it was an unboxing. It wasn't a review. I quickly looked it up, went to Microtech's sale website they have now for these, and I just typed in Anax. The only one that popped up on that day, it looked like the black DLC. The photos, you look at it, the knives were black, everything else. And I said, whatever I said, $425 or $450. And he went nuts. So I go back and check. This was a day or two after I'd uploaded the video. Sure enough, there's more than one Anax sitting there, and there is the black DLC, and it's $550. And then I looked at the pictures. I'm like, well, here's the picture that I saw, and it looked black. And the black DLC just looks a little bit blacker. And I do want to show this to you on the screen, just so you realize I'm not crazy. Oh my goodness, a knife reviewer made a mistake on an unboxing? Oh my goodness. Gee, sorry, but you don't have to call somebody a liar. Have a little bit of tact, you know? Don't be an asshat. So anyway, yeah, when we do unboxings, we're not sitting down and doing, you know, all the hours of research and this and that. I do that for the reviews. That's why reviews take so long. You do your, at least I do the research, do the photography, get all the information out there so people can make an informed decision. Unboxings are just the excitement of check out what just arrived and I can't wait to share it with you. That's it. So I'm sorry to that one individual who was apparently greatly offended, and I don't know if he went on a mass killing spree afterwards or not with a squirt gun filled with bleach, but either way, I hope he's going to be okay and he'll recover soon. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the knife. I think it's really nice, but for me, as exciting as the all black is in theory, I think I would rather go for the plain uncoated version, because I think over time I'd end up being happier and I wouldn't have to compare it unfavorably to a knife that's about half the price. And that's just the God's honest truth. I'll see you guys on the next video.